Welcome back. Now, it's been almost a year since the first case of COVID-19 was reported in this country. Almost a year of living in lockdown and adhering to precautions to keep us from contracting the virus and, of course, very importantly, infecting others. But what do you do when someone you live with is sick and you think it's COVID-19? They need your help, but you obviously don't want to get sick as well or pass the virus on to others. Well, Dr. Lerato Masimola, a family medical doctor and founder of the Tari Health medical practice in Johannesburg, now joins us to share her expert advice. A very good morning, doctor. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, and yourself?
Good, thank you.
Doctor, people get up to so much during the day. We have work, meetings, lunches, or even grocery runs. And then we return home to our families or flatmates or whatever the situation is. The first thing that we do is take off our masks. But even then, that's also a little bit risky because we never really know what we've touched or where we've been. Then how do we get to, a point where what do we do when we start showing symptoms or even a loved one starts showing symptoms?
It's actually not very straightforward. It can be very tricky. I mean, we hardly think of going to the shops as very risky. So if possible, you yourself or the person who you think is infected need to just basically assess your level of risk, any contact of any form, even if it's just going to the shops once a week. So if you think you have been exposed, no matter how small the chance is, or there is a strong suspicion of infection due to the appearance of or escalation of symptoms, then it's best to contact your doctor and get tested, either at their practice or the lab they send you to, or contact the government channels where you can be directed to go and test for free if you don't have the resources to pay for your test. And while waiting for results, it's very important that nobody then leaves the house. If you suspect somebody in the house has COVID or yourself, then you can't carry on with life while you're waiting for a test. If you're not going to go the testing route, you should stay away from people. That's first and foremost, so that you avoid spreading the infection again to other people.
All right, so let's take it a step.
When you're in the house, if you can, isolate from other people in the home if it's just one person who's suspected of having the infection.
All right, so let's take it a step further. In the instance where a family member has actually tested positive, what are those key safety measures that we should implement immediately?
It can be so tricky. Our home situations are different. If it's somebody who is it somebody who can look after themselves? Like, is it an adult, an independent adult? I mean, if it's a child or an elderly who needs assistance, you can't abandon those people in the house and say, you're going to sit in this corner and, you've got COVID and therefore, you can't interact with us. So we just have to basically take your situation into account. Is there enough space to isolate, or will the whole family have to isolate with the sick person from the rest of everybody else? So in an ideal setting, there's a place where a person can be in the house, either an outside cottage or their own bedroom, right? And then they have their own bathroom also. But if you have to share toilets and bathrooms, the person who has symptoms, or the person who has symptoms, maybe is a mom and need to cook for the family or for the kids, there's no other adult in the house, then there is going to be the time when there's shared spaces, right? So washing of hands with soap and water becomes very, very important. If you do have a separate space you're going to be in, leave in your space sanitized so that when you touch door handles, you don't contaminate them. And when you get to a place where you can wash your hands, like at the basin or at the sink, the first thing you do is that. And if you touch any surfaces, just be cognizant of the fact that you must go back and wipe the surfaces. And the sick person should avoid also coughing into hands. You must cough into your elbow. Avoid coughing into hands and touching surfaces. But the main thing is that this disease mainly spreads by touching things and people touching those things back. And then the droplet spreads, obviously. So open your windows if you're in the room. People must come in and help you clean up or bathe you or etc. So allow as much air as possible into the room. If you're gonna be at home alone and people are going to work and then you touch the TV remote, best thing to do is to cling wrap that, because it's easy to wipe over the plastics than to get into between the buttons to clean, right? So it's easier to sanitize if it's wrapped in cling wrap. And the one other thing is that you can share the food in the house. Somebody goes to cook and then you put into separate plates, obviously. You don't have to go buy disposables or let this person have their own special crockery. The minute somebody finishes eating, they walk into the sink and places their things and go back into the isolation. Or if you're fetching because they're in bed, you run the water into the sink with soap and water, with soap and maybe some bleach. When you fetch the plates, put them straight into the sink with your hands, and then you wash everything. Water with soap kills germs. It's been doing it for years. So don't now feel like you need to go buy special crockery for the person and ostracize them and make them feel like they're dirty. And the mom can cook for the kids, or the adult in the house who must cook. They can cook for the kids or for the family. Because when we cook, we're not spitting into the pots, guys. So you just need to be realistic and be logical about it, and keep sanitizers in every room for quick use when you can't get to the basin and wash your hands with soap and water. I can't stress enough soap and water. Soap and water is number one. Sanitizers are the backup.
Okay.
Thank you so much for touching on the fact that, people have different living situations and offering ways in which they can physically and emotionally give support to a loved one who may be suffering from COVID-19. But I want to take it a step further and look into the sort of diet that they're meant to be eating during this time to boost their immune system, because in that stage, the immune system is being attacked.
Seriously compromised, Joan.
Yeah. So first of all, do eat. People complain of loss of smell and taste and then also loss of appetite, and then they ignore eating. Being sick can just lead to a general aversion to wanting to do things. If your arms ache, you don't want to eat, you don't want to chew, if your face is sore, it feels like a chore. So please eat so that you can keep up your body filled up so that you can fight the infection. Secondly, please drink water. Water is essential for life, so keep hydrated. You can lose a lot of water from just sweating, with or without a fever, from the diarrhea and vomiting, and from breathing fast when you have chest symptoms. Your water supports nutrients transport and your medication transportation. It gets rid of waste from all the stuff that you break down while you're feverish and stuff like that. So you must drink at least about 2 to 3 liters of water per day. Eat as healthy as you can. Eat as clean as you can. Less processed food, less junk, less foods that are high in salt and sugar. If you can just partially cook your vegetables, the more raw, the better, to help detox the body. Remember, you're very sick. You've got viral particles breaking down. You need to get out of the body. Your body is breaking down other things to make energy for you. So you need to eat and keep up. You expend a lot of energy when you're sick with an illness this quite bad, So you need to eat, you need to drink lots of water, and avoid wanting to eat out. Because one is junk food, and two, you will infect other people. Even if there's one person in the house and the family feels like they must go out, it's not advisable to do that. So rather cook your food, you know what's going into it, more fruits and vegetables, some protein if you eat animal protein, otherwise find other sources of protein. It's very important to keep the body strong to help it fight the disease.
Doctor, thank you so much. Simple yet effective, some brilliant advice. Thank you so much. You can find her at Tari Health if you want to pose some more questions, but we'll continue our discussions around COVID-19. Dr. Emile Reid is in studio. We'll do that after the news.